The silence of an adult child is not merely an absence of sound. It is a physical weight that presses on a parent's chest. It is the phone that does not ring on birthdays, the empty chair at holiday tables, and the agonizing question that loops endlessly in the mind. What did I do wrong? This silence can feel like a living death, a grief without a grave. Yet Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who found meaning in the midst of the Holocaust, teaches us that even the most painful silence holds a voice if we learn how to listen to it. Today, we will uncover 5 revealed answers hidden within this silence, answers that explain what is really happening in your adult child's heart and, crucially, how you can find peace and dignity in yours. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy is built on the conviction that the primary drive in human life is not pleasure or power, but meaning. When an adult child cuts off contact or retreats into a cold, impenetrable silence, it is easy to interpret this as a meaningless act of cruelty or a verdict on your failure as a parent. However, Frankl invites us to shift our perspective from the what to the why. He challenges us to see that every behavior, no matter how hurtful, is an attempt to solve an existential problem. By applying Frankl's profound insights to the modern epidemic of family estrangement, we can stop viewing ourselves merely as victims of rejection and start seeing ourselves as students of a deeper, albeit painful, lesson in love and letting go. This video is not just about analyzing your child. It is about reclaiming your own life from the grip of their silence. The silent scream for autonomy, why they pull away. The first revealed answer is that silence is often a clumsy, desperate attempt at autonomy. For many adult children, the process of separating emotionally from their parents did not happen gradually or smoothly during adolescence. Perhaps the family bonds were too tight or the expectations too heavy. Now, as adults, they feel they cannot exist as separate individuals while remaining in close connection with you. They fear that your influence, your love, or your very presence will swallow their fragile sense of self. Frankl spoke of the will to meaning as the desire to be the author of one's own life. Your child's silence may be their way of clearing the stage so they can finally hear their own voice, unmixed with yours. This does not make the pain of exclusion any less sharp, but it does change its meaning. It suggests that the silence is not necessarily about hatred, but about survival. They are pulling away not to hurt you, but to find themselves. In many cases, the adult child lacks the emotional vocabulary to say, "I need space to grow," so they simply disappear. They use distance as a shield because they do not yet know how to use boundaries as a bridge. Understanding this allows you to depersonalize the rejection. It is not that you are unlovable, it is that they are currently incapable of loving you without losing themselves. Viewing their silence through this lens requires immense spiritual maturity. It asks you to step back and respect their need for separation, even when it feels like an amputation. Frankl taught that love is the only way to grasp another human being in the innermost core of his personality. Paradoxically, the most loving thing you can do right now may be to accept their need for distance without retaliation. By doing so, you validate their autonomy, which is the very thing they are fighting for. You signal that you are strong enough to stand alone, which eventually makes it safer for them to return, knowing they will not be responsible for your emotional well-being. This act of release is the highest form of parental love, a love that seeks the other's growth even at the cost of one's own comfort. The weight of unspoken expectations, a crushing burden. The second answer reveals that silence is often a collapse under the weight of perceived expectations. Even if you feel you have been supportive and undemanding, your adult child may be carrying a backpack full of shoulds. I should be successful. I should be happily married. I should make my parents proud. If their reality does not match these internalized standards, shame becomes a barrier they cannot cross. Frankl noted that shame is a powerful silencer. It makes a person want to hide. Your child may be avoiding you, not because they despise you, but because they despise who they are when they are around you, or rather who they fear they are failing to be. This dynamic is particularly common when parents have sacrificed greatly for their children. The child feels a crushing debt of gratitude they can never repay. Every interaction feels like a reminder of this insolvency. To escape the guilt of not being enough, they choose the silence of absence. It is easier to be a ghost than to be a disappointment. Frankl's wisdom here guides us to look at our own will to, meaning. Have we inadvertently made our children's success the primary meaning of our own lives? If so, we have placed a burden on them that no human can bear. To lift this weight, we must do the internal work of releasing them from the job of validating us. We must find meaning in our own existence, independent of their achievements or their affection. When we can truthfully say, in our hearts, not just in words, I love you for who you are, not for what you do, we change the energetics, frequency of the relationship. We move from a dynamic of transaction, I gave you life, you owe me closeness, to a dynamic of grace. This shift does not guarantee their return, but it removes the invisible pressure that keeps them away, making the space between you less charged with guilt and more open to possibility. It creates a clearing where they can enter without the armor of defense. If this message brought clarity or relief to your heart, you can support this space by clicking the Thanks button. Your contribution helps keep this work of care alive. The echo of unresolved trauma, pain from the past. The third answer is the most difficult to face. Silence can be an echo of unresolved trauma or deep hurt from the past. This does not always mean abuse. It can mean emotional neglect, high conflict, or simply a mismatch of temperaments that left the child feeling unseen. In their adult mind, the silence is a protective wall built to keep out pain. They may be revisiting their childhood with a critical eye, reinterpreting events you remember as benign. Frankl teaches that we cannot change the past, but we can change our attitude toward it. If your child is pointing to past wounds as the reason for their silence, the instinctive reaction is defense and denial. However, defense only thickens the wall. The Franklian approach is one of tragic optimism, facing the pain without losing hope. It means acknowledging that two realities can exist. You did the best you could, with the tools you had, and your child was hurt. Both can be true. The silence is their way of saying, I am still hurting. If you can find the courage to validate their pain without collapsing into shame, you begin to dismantle the need for the wall. You stop fighting for your version of history and start fighting for the relationship in the present. This answer invites a profound humility. It asks us to mourn the imperfections of our parenting. Frankl reminds us that we are not perfect, nor are we expected to be. We are human beings searching for meaning. By accepting our own flaws, we become safer for our children. We stop being the authority who must be right and become a fellow traveler who is willing to listen. This vulnerability is disarming. It transforms the silence from a weapon into a question. Can you hear my pain? If you can answer yes without defense, the silence loses its power to divide. It is in this shared vulnerability that the seeds of reconciliation are often sown, watering the dry ground of estrangement with the tears of honest recognition. The existential vacuum, their own inner emptiness. The fourth answer shifts the focus entirely to the adult child's internal state. Frankl described the existential vacuum as a widespread phenomenon in the modern world, a pervasive feeling of meaninglessness and emptiness. Your adult child may be suffering from this deep inner void. They may be depressed, anxious, or lost, drifting without a compass. In this state of spiritual depletion, they simply do not have the energy to maintain relationships, even with those they love. The silence is not personal. It is a symptom of their own despair. They are conserving what little energy they have just to survive the day. Parents often misinterpret this withdrawal as selfishness or uncaring behavior. We think, if they loved me, they would call. Frankl corrects this. They cannot call because they are empty. You cannot draw water from a dry well. Recognizing their silence as a symptom of their struggle, rather than a judgment of you, changes everything. It evokes compassion instead of anger. It allows you to pray for them, to wish them healing, rather than stewing in resentment over their lack of attention. It turns your focus from your own injury to their suffering. This insight also liberates you from the role of fixer. You cannot fill their existential vacuum for them. You cannot give them meaning. They must find it for themselves. Your role shifts from active intervention to faithful witnessing. You become the watchman, holding a vision of their wholeness, even when they cannot see it themselves. You keep the light on, not by badgering them with texts, but by living your own life with purpose and joy. Frankl taught that values are caught, not taught. By living a meaningful life yourself, you model the very thing they are searching for, offering a silent beacon of hope. This silent modeling is a powerful force, demonstrating that life is worth living despite the darkness they currently feel. The mirror of your own growth, a call to meaning. The fifth and final revealed answer turns the mirror back on you. The silence of your adult child is a powerful, albeit painful, call to your own growth. It forces you to confront the question, who am I when I am not mom or dad? Frankl believed that life is constantly questioning us, and we answer with our actions. This estrangement is asking you to expand your identity. It is inviting you to find meaning in areas of life you may have neglected. Your creativity, your friendships, your spiritual life, your service to the community. If your entire emotional stability depends on your child's proximity, you are placing a burden on them that is too heavy. The silence is breaking that dependency. It is forcing you to stand on your own 2 feet emotionally. This is not a punishment. It is an initiation into a higher level of maturity. You are learning to source your well-being from within, rather than extracting it from your children. This is the ultimate freedom Frankl spoke of, the freedom to be whole regardless of external circumstances. By answering this call to growth, you paradoxically increase the chances of reconnection. A parent who is needy, guilt-ridden, and empty is repelling. A parent who is vibrant, self-sustained, and peaceful is magnetic. When you stop chasing, you create a vacuum that they may eventually choose to enter. But even if they don't, you have saved yourself. You have built a life that is rich with meaning. You have honored Frankl's legacy by turning a tragedy into a triumph of the human spirit. You have looked into the silence and found your own voice. The silence of an adult child is a fire that burns away the non-essential, leaving only what is true. It reveals our fears, our dependencies, and ultimately, our capacity for unconditional love. By understanding these answers, we move from confusion to clarity. We stop banging on the closed door and start tending to the garden of our own lives. You can choose to be the victim, or you can choose to be the hero of your own journey of meaning. The choice is yours. If this journey resonated with you, share one insight in the comments below that brought a moment of clarity to your heart. Your story matters,